Hey guys, you're watching the Giant pregame show presented by Sherwood Ford. Tyler, Caroline here, and producer Liam behind the scenes. What's up, everyone? Tyler, what's going on?
What's going on is the Oilers are on a 3-game losing streak, and their chances of going to the playoffs this year are dropping with every passing day.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was going to say, what's worse, the fact that we just lost to Calgary or the fact that we're on a 3-game losing streak and 4 points behind Vegas in the standings?
Here's the good news. We got some help on the out-of-town scoreboard yesterday with the Vegas Golden Knights losing to the Philadelphia Flyers. We're at the point now, 25 games to go for the Edmonton Oilers, 24 to go for LA, 24 to go for Vegas. Every Vegas, LA, and you could throw Nashville in that mix, every Vegas, LA, and Nashville loss is just as important as an Oilers victory. So Vegas losing to a team that they should have beat in Philadelphia last night, that in a way cancels out the Oilers losing to the Flames.
I mean, you're thinking glass half full there for sure. I'm not sure if the rest of Oilers Nation feels that way.
You win tonight, you're only 2 back of Vegas. Come on. That's good.
Well, that's a must-win. This is a must win at this point, because we've been saying that for every game, for the last 4 or 5.
You're pretty much gonna need probably 97 points to get in. The Oilers need to go 16-8-1 to get to that point down the stretch. So giddy up.
Well, let's talk about something that I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of Oilers Nation across the board feels like has really started to hurt the Oilers, is the fact that since Nuge and Puljujarvi have been out of the lineup, the team has kind of declined on the ice. And we know what that third line looked like when Nuge was centering it with Fogle and Ryan. It was on fire. Nuge was doing an excellent job for us. And then Puljujarvi, a big net front presence for us. He had 4 points in his last 4 games before getting injured. I just think the dynamic of the team has changed on the ice, and I don't know if we have anyone else on this team who could replace a third-line center like Nuge and a guy like Puljujarvi who could give us, 15 goals plus in a season.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the depth on this team gets exposed when you go through a couple of injuries like this, right? And not only have you lost an upper layer of talent, you mentioned how important Nuge is at 5-on-5. He's huge on the penalty kill. He's huge on the power play. He touches every area of your game. Puljujarvi is a piece who, whether he was on the third line or the first line, he was giving you solid, impactful minutes. You lost that layer. You have no Zach Kassian, so that's another guy who at least you could put into spot duty in the top 6 once in a while. You don't have him either. You've lost 33% of your top 9, and it's been a while without them. And we just see, if the Oilers' best players aren't carrying them right now, there's not enough depth for them to win hockey games. And against Calgary, that was a prime example of Calgary's best players were better than Edmonton's best players.
Let's talk about Leon and Connor, because they finished the game with 0 points each. I think combined 4 shots on goal. Obviously not what we want to see. When we were talking in our pregame show, how the stats were kind of in their favor against Calgary. But are they tired at this point in time? When you have 2 of the best players on the world, are we relying on them too much? Because when Jay Woodcroft first came in, we kind of saw that their time on ice was getting decreased, which was giving them rest time, which was giving them more of an opportunity to excel when they got on the ice. But now, with all of these injuries, they kind of have no choice. And you at some point, you look to our stars to get the job done. But do we look at them too much to get the job done?
I mean, maybe, but again, I just think right now you don't have much of a choice if you're the Edmonton Oilers. You need to live and die by the sword, and that is the 2 big guns in 97 and 29. I even look at the power play, and a lot of people are saying, well, split them up. Get 2 solid power play units going, and maybe that can spark things. But I'm not even convinced if that's the answer right now, because we know how dangerous they can be when they're rolling together. And again, 16-8-1. That's going to have to be their record at a minimum for them to get into the playoffs at this point. Well, I think you just need to take a chance on those 2 catching lightning in a bottle on the power play and getting red hot, because that's how they carried you to 16-5 to start the year, was by those 2 carrying the load most nights. I really do think that's the number one option.
That's kind of scary, though, to just hope that you hit lightning in a bottle at this point in time. Realistically, Oilers fans, let us know in the chat what you think. What needs to change on that power play? Because that's the biggest conversation, not only in Edmonton, but across the league. Because at the beginning of the season, our power play, like we said again multiple times on this pregame show, was our most lethal weapon. And now it's what's hurting us the most.
Yeah, and we can go back again. That game against Calgary is a prime example of it. I mean, they had opportunities in the first period. It was Backlund for interference, Zadorov for the high stick. Within 5 minutes, the Oilers had 2 power plays, and they got nothing out of it. And not even you're getting chances and you're generating momentum, and it's Jacob Markstrom standing on his head. You got basically your power play is a negative for you right now. It's taking momentum away. It's sucking the life out of your game. Since Woodcroft took over, they're a top 10 team in by most possession metrics at 5-on-5. Special teams, they're right at the bottom. So
let's talk about Big Miko, because he had a solid performance. I think he did his job between the pipes. I know 26 saves on this on the night, but Miko's kind of the guy. I think he deserves the start tonight. And who else are we looking to in between the pipes?
Well, Skinner's here, right? So that obviously is going to be a question of, if you have Stuart Skinner up here, do you give him a look? But they're going with Miko tonight, and I do think it's the right decision.
I like that. Yeah.
Again, against Calgary, an .897 save percentage isn't great, but he stopped for the most part the shots that he was supposed to. Like, you can't blame him when it's Johnny Gaudreau, one of the hottest scorers in the NHL right now, coming in on a breakaway. Like, not a lot of goalies are going to stop that guy. Yeah, he only allowed 3 goals, and I'll say the same thing I've said on a handful of pregame shows now. If the Oilers goalie allows 3 goals, they have a chance to win. Yeah. Their offense at that point needs to carry them, and Miko's done that in 8 or 9 straight starts now. He's only allowed 3 goals in regulation. Take out the OT winner against Chicago. Almost called it an OT loser, which would have been fitting. But yeah.
We got some comments here on the Facebook chat about the power play from Ryan Scott. Power play is too predictable. It's always dry with the one-timer. Brent says maybe it's time to split the big duo up, which is what you were saying. Yeah. And, at this point, you gotta try things, because whatever we're doing is not working for us.
Yeah, and that's Noah says this too. At least get the momentum going with the power play. And there's just so many times where, like, they either struggle to get into the zone, or they finally get in and it's a quick turnover, pucks going back down the ice. And that's just, it's not good enough. The power play needs to be a strength of this team, and they will not make the power play or make the playoffs if their power play is not humming at like 30-35% for the rest of the season. It's
so mind-blowing to me that at the beginning of the season, which I know the beginning of the season can look so much different than the end, but I would have never thought that this team wouldn't make the playoffs. And now we're legitimately having concerns that they may not make the playoffs.
Yeah, again, like I said, you're 4 back of Vegas with a game in hand. So you win tonight because tonight's your game in hand. You're 7 points back of LA with a game in hand. So you could be 2 points back of Vegas, 5 points back of LA. And then it comes down to, I went on this rant on our last show, but you need to win your head-to-head games against LA, because you got 2. You need to win the head-to-head game against Vegas, and you suddenly put yourself in a more interesting spot. Like I mentioned, 97 points is kind of the playoff cut line, but there's a very real chance that you get in with less just because the Pacific Division might falter a little bit. Vegas is not healthy right now. Robin Lehner has a torn labrum he's trying to play through. LA, I think a lot of people are still sitting around kind of waiting for the LA Kings to just fall off because no one expected them to do this. And also with the Nashville Predators, Oilers 4 points back of the Preds. It's actually Nashville with a game in hand on them, so even more pressure in that race for the Oilers to get 2 points tonight to at least be able to stay within reach of the Nashville Predators.
Yeah. Quickly, before we move on to our opposition report, Nima Linen sent back down to Bakersfield. A lot of fans, when this news initially came out, were pissed because, of course, he's been a guy who brings the physicality, the grit on the ice that we love to see. Maybe one of the only Oilers that we've seen do this. But Jay Woodcroft confirmed this morning that the reason for this is because his wife will be delivering a baby. Yeah. So congrats to Nima Linen and the whole Nima Linen family, and hopefully back in the lineup soon, because that's a guy that we've all fallen in love with.
Yeah, a lot of Oilers fans have, and I mean, understandably so. I think everyone watching this show knows what Markus Niemelainen does well. He goes down, obviously, the family reasons there, but also Philip Broberg played really well in that last game. And now you have Evan Bouchard, who's going to be back in the lineup tonight. So you can have Lagesson on the right side with Bouchard and Ceci on top of him. And I'm actually okay with Broberg playing a bit of an elevated role. He played 16:58 at 5-on-5 against the Calgary Flames, and when he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot the Flames 9-3 at 5-on-5. Broberg, he also saw a handful, 2 minutes and 43 seconds on the power play as well, so I think that's a sign Jay Woodcroft is getting more and more comfortable with Broberg at the NHL level, and Broberg himself is getting more and more comfortable at the pro level. So I like Niemelainen going down. Yeah, he brought an interesting dynamic, but Broberg is maybe starting to hit his stride as well. So it might not be a big loss at all for the Oilers.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to our opposition report presented by Yeg Burger. Like we said, a must win tonight for the Oilers, who are on home ice taking on the Washington Capitals, who are coming off of a very big 5-4 win last night against the Flames. So we do know the Caps obviously got to have a little bit of tired legs. We expect the Oilers to take advantage of that, and we all know the star power on the Caps, starting with Ovi, who tied Yager for for the third most goals of all time with 766 goals last night, obviously scoring 2 goals against the Flames. And no surprise here that he's the team leading with 70 points. So this Caps team isn't having their best season, Tyler.
No.
However, Ovi's just one guy of many on this roster that the Oilers will need to shut down and not take lightly. And I want to call this right now and put this out into the universe. I would love an Evander Kane-Tom Wilson matchup tonight. Let's get the juices brewing.
Yeah.
And let's get some physicality in this match because, man, the Oilers fans need something to be excited about.
Yeah, and I mean, Washington, you mentioned it. They've been struggling along for a little bit here since January 1st. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. January 1st. They're 21st in the NHL in points percentage. They're picking up points at just a 48% clip. That is not very good. They're giving up an average of 3.04 goals per game, scoring an under 3 goals per game on average as well. For reference, from January 1st on, the Oilers haven't been great, but they're 16th in the NHL, 5 spots ahead of the Washington Capitals. This is a Caps team that you could probably go back further than Jan 1. They've really been struggling since about December 1st, and the Oilers beat them just a month and a half ago. Remember, it was that thriller in Washington where Edmonton goes up 3-0 early. They chase Samsonov, they blow the lead, and it was a shorthanded goal from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins off a great drive from Zach Hyman to seal it up. So, yeah, I mean, this is a beatable team. They just played last night. They just gave up 4 goals to the Calgary Flames as well. This is a very winnable game for the Oilers on home ice.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to the lines for the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, let's dig into the lines courtesy of our friends at Jägburger. Also, quickly on Jägburger, their item of the month, their burger of the month, a poutine burger. There's a picture of it up.
Stop.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had it?
No, I haven't had it yet. But I know sales guy Jared was out there the other day, so maybe sales guy Jared can give us a bit of review on it. But there's a picture of it up on their Instagram at YEG_burger. Go check it out. Lines for the Washington Capitals. Evgeny Kuznetsov centers the top unit with Alex Ovechkin and Tom Wilson. Nicholas Backstrom on the second line with Anthony Mantha and TJ Oshie. Oshie, Mantha, Ovechkin. Caps are missing all 3 of those players the last time they went head-to-head with the Oilers. They are fully healthy now. Lars Eller with the former first-round pick Connor McMichael and Connor Sherry. Connor Sherry, 4 goals in his last 5 games. Nick Dowd with Garnet Hathaway and Axel Jonsson-Philliby on the fourth line. Martin Farabee with John Carlson is the top pair. Dmitry Orlov with Nick Jensen on the second pair. Trevor Van Riemsdyk with our boy Justin Schultz on the third pairing for the Washington Capitals. And starting between the pipes for the Caps is going to be Ilya Samsonov in their last 5 games. Samsonov has a 3.85 goals against average and an .844 save percentage.
Awesome stuff, Tyler. And how about for the Edmonton Oilers? Any changes in our lines?
For the Edmonton Oilers, the top 6 really staying the same. Draisaitl, Kane, and Yamamoto. McLeod, McDavid, and Hyman. Now, it is worth noting the Oilers didn't skate today, so we don't know 100% what their lineup will look like. The third line, up front, they really don't have that many options for someone to sub in. So I'm imagining it's still going to go Fogle, Shore, and Ryan. And then Benson, Malone, and Colton Sevier. The D pairings for the Oilers, like I mentioned, Evan Bouchard back in the lineup. We'll see what they do. But the top 4 will be Nurse and Keith on the left side, Ceci and Bouchard on the right side. We'll see if they go back to Keith and Ceci, maybe give Bouchard some time on the top pair with Nurse again. I wasn't a big fan of the Keith-Bouchard pairing, but Jay Woodcroft seemed to have liked it. Third pairing should end up being Broberg with William Lagesson as well. And the big thing for the Oilers, of course, tonight is going to be getting that top power play unit going. That is priority number 1 tonight. Absolutely.
So many comments in the Facebook chat saying that they just got to split up McDavid and Draisaitl. So we'll see what happens. But if it was up to Oilers Nation, I think that that's what the call would be.
I'm not sold on it. Again, it can work with the 2 of them. And what the Oilers need right now is not any sort of long-term success. They just need a really hot 20-game run here to get into the playoffs.
How many games are you willing to let that play out without potentially trying to change it up? Because we're kind of in do or die mode here.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. It's almost to the Mike Smith debate, right?
How
often Mike Smith can get hot. He's done it before. How often are you willing to keep running him out? And with the power play, yeah, that's a good point. How many more games do you go? Because eventually there would have to be a line. So I mean, I'd be interested in the Facebook chat. If you want to split up McDavid and Draisaitl on the power play, who are you throwing out there? Who's your top unit? You go McDavid, Nurse, Hyman. Are you just keeping your forward lines at that point? Do you just not have power play units? Is that the play?
I just want to hopefully go into the playoffs. We're going to put that out there without so many questions and concerns and look at a team and be like, we have faith. We know what's going to happen. Yeah. We have faith. We're not questioning every single player, every single move, or maybe we'll put that out there for next season. I'm not thinking negatively just yet. All right, Tyler, where are you putting your money tonight? Bet of the game presented by PointsBet.
Yeah, let's jump into it here. The Oilers are actually favorites in this game at -136 on the money line. If you like them in regulation, +105 on the puck line, +180. They hit all three of those bets last time they played the Washington Capitals. Their team total in this game is set at 3.5 with the over paying +105. I actually don't mind that considering the Capitals gave up 5 goals to the Oilers last time they met. And like I said, gave up 4 goals to the Calgary Flames just last night. The Oilers are going to need more from McDavid and Draisaitl. Draisaitl -106 to find the back of the net. McDavid +110 to score tonight. They're going to need to keep Alex Ovechkin, who's even money to score, off the score sheet as well, because that guy is dangerous right now. 2 goals last night.
I think Connor's getting one tonight. I think that last game he must have been, Connor. He wasn't happy with that. He's getting one tonight.
I like that too, actually. Like I had money on McDavid to score, obviously, against Calgary. I like McDavid to score tonight, and I like the Oilers team total at 3.5.
Awesome. All right, anything in your chat?
Looking over, someone was wondering when do we get Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back? In terms of updates on the injured Oilers, Nuge is still week to week, but I think I would say sometime in the next 10 days. He won't play for 10 days, but right around that range. Day 11, 12, 13, I think we might see Nuge back. Puljujarvi haven't heard a ton on. I did hear Bob Stauffer earlier today saying that both Zach Kassian and Josh Archibald could potentially be in the lineup when the Oilers play the Detroit Red Wings on next Tuesday. Kassian potentially earlier as well.
Okay, we got Will in the chat saying just one night. It's not a permanent thing. I think he's talking about splitting up Connor and Dry. Just maybe testing it out and it not being a permanent thing, but maybe shaking things up a little. See what works, see what doesn't.
So maybe that is the way you try spark it, is you just go no power play unit tonight. When you get a power play, if you're Jay Woodcroft, you live life like it's still 5-on-5. If you want to go Draisaitl, Kane, and Yamamoto with Keith and Bouchard, you roll them out. If you want to go McDavid, McLeod, and Hyman with Nurse and whoever, Nurse and Ceci, you roll them out and you say, forget the power play units. We're just going to keep playing 5-on-5 and see if we can get some offense going. Because right now it is embarrassing how bad their power play is, and it needs to be better.
I don't mean to laugh, but at some point you just got to laugh at things or you start to go crazy, right? Being an Oilers fan.
Yeah.
We're at that point. Okay.
We really are.
From Colin in the Facebook chat, he says we have a good feeling of what we picked from our box of chocolates. Go Oilers, which I love that because remember the last game, so we never know what we're going to get, which I love that. So you Oilers fans are awesome. Okay, anything else you got going in your chat, Tyler?
We got one. We get good chances, but we definitely need to actually bury the puck. And I just have a problem with the whole process on the power play. Like it's too stagnant, it's too stale, it's too predictable. You know when McDavid has the puck on the far side, he's looking for Leon Draisaitl and only Leon Draisaitl. They need to get moving more. And they've had success. Let's look back at the power play goals they've scored. Draisaitl had the 1-1-timer, which was from his sweet spot, but McDavid was coming around the offensive zone, and they did the tricky little give and go. They scored that way. Draisaitl scored a power play goal against Philly. He didn't score it from his office. He scored it from the top right, left, whatever side you want to consider it, top corner of the offensive zone, and it was a floater of a shot. But again, when you throw that, when you have that element of surprise, when you get bodies moving around, the penalty killers get discombobulated, you'll get more chances than if you just enter the zone the same way every time, do the same thing on the cycle every time, and are trying to get Leon Draisaitl set up in the same spot with the exact same pass every single time. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results? That's the Oilers' power play right now. It makes no sense.
Inject this energy that Tyler has right now into the Oilers.
That's another beef I have. Is you watch. I'm sitting there before the Oilers-Flames game, and I'm watching Columbus play Toronto. When those two sides were scoring goals, they were going nuts. There was a ton of physicality, a lot of checking down low, and look around the league. Alex Ovechkin has scored how many goals? 766 in his career. He still celebrates every single one like it's the freaking game winner of a playoff series. The Oilers need more of that. It's too much of this. They score and they're like, oh, ho-hum, hey, look, one's on the board. Nice. Show a little personality. Show that you care. Show that you actually want to go on a run here and make the playoffs. Play with some physicality. McDavid said it. He said our playoff run started a couple weeks ago. And you know what? Show it then. Show up tonight against Washington on home ice in front of what should be a great crowd at Rogers Place. Show some passion and show that you're actually ready to play playoff-style hockey.
Okay, guys, I'm going to start 2 petitions here in the next hour. 1, to hire Tyler as GM. 2, to sign Tyler as a player because I saw his skills on the ice, and maybe he could help the power play out a little bit. What do you think, Ty?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll leave with this comment from Jake. What's up, Jake? He says both the Lightning and Capitals will be tired, so we need to capitalize here, and I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
This is a great situation that the Oilers are in. They're coming off of a bad loss, a few bad losses. They can win tonight, like we said, must win, and the Caps are tired. They need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of a tired Capitals team and find a way to get a big 2 points here and keep yourself in the playoff hunt. Simple as that.
Perfect. All right, everyone. This has been your Giant pregame show. Puck drops at 6 p.m. We'll see you on Twitter and next time we play. Bye.